We'll be talking about managing insider risk in your organization today. And insider risk is one of those most concern for security and compliance administrators in different organizations because of the age that corporate data are kept with different employees at different locations as they work remotely. And we know many employees might be so careless with the information kept with them, and with that may leak out some information, maybe involuntarily, and there are some disgruntled employee that may intentionally be a malicious insider to steal some information from the organization, and this may pose a huge risk on the organization. So this solution will help your organization to prevent and mitigate insider risk in your organization. My name is Awe Oluwafemi. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I work with Ha-Shem as a cloud productivity and security engineer. So this is our agenda for today. We'll be looking at the 4 features of this Microsoft 365 solution that will help you to mitigate or minimize insider risk in your organization. The first one we'll be talking about is insider risk management. Is a solution to help you ensure that there is compliance in your organization. And with this solution, you can detect and scan any form of unacceptable information and prevent unauthorized distribution of organization assets. Then we move to communication compliance. Communication compliance will help you to ensure sanity in your organization, ensure that unacceptable languages or communications are not allowed, which could cause some kind of unrest within your employee or cause a kind of distraction, or may even lead to asset theft. So the next one will be information barrier. Information barrier will help you to enforce compliance on different group or user to prevent against or conflict of interest. And lastly, we'll be talking about privileged access management. On Tuesday, the anchor of program talked a bit about this. So we'll see how this solution can help us to effect privileged access management to ensure that some privileged users do not use their privilege for some other means except for official use. Talking about insider risk, like I said earlier, it will help organizations to scan, detect, and investigate any kind of malicious or inadvertent activities of users in your organization. And all those, this solution do this by using the artificial intelligence to scan different users that are assigned with this policy. So you make use of policy where you define risk indicator, you define triggers, you define actions and conditions that we met. The artificial intelligence, we use this to scan different kind of Microsoft 365 solutions or services for any form of matching risk. And this risk will be classified based on their sensitivity or the priority as either high, low, or medium. And the administrator can analyze this risk to evaluate the consequence of this risk on their organization and confirm if this is acceptable or not. And the admin can resolve that that alert by creating a case for further escalation. And this insider risk management try to balance between privacy and risk management. So you have the opportunity to still maintain privacy of the affected user by not displaying their name, since in case you are escalating to some other reviewers to check. And if other reviewers cannot handle it, even there are some risks that you can escalate to the Microsoft team for further escalation. And if it's a kind of false alert, you can also give feedback on that. So how this risk management span through different kind of vulnerable areas in the organization, which span through data spillage, intellectual property theft, fraud, or insider trading. Some some users may want to take opportunity of the environment they had to have some other side trading, and this may cause a kind of distraction, and sometimes it may lead to different conflicts. And if your employees are not in their right mind or they are not in synergy, it will affect the productivity at work. So to mitigate against this, you can use this solution to create policy that will scan some specific triggers. And when that is gotten, an alert will be created, and the admin can investigate this and take necessary action, either to notify the affected user or to take necessary action based on whatever policy have been set in the organization. And the insider risk will it work and collaborate with different teams in the organization, the HR team, the compliance team, the IT team, the legal team, to form the right policy that will help to ensure that the risk is mitigated. And confidential violations, and also policy violations, security violations. This, we have some users that have privilege to some certain actions or activity based on their role, maybe to perform migration, and you previously given them a privilege and which was not retracted, and they may use this for some unauthorized event. So to guide against this, you can use insider risk management to create policy to prevent this. Now let's look at the workflow of the insider risk management. How does it work? These are the processes to follow to ensure that insider risks are well managed. You create a policy, and in this policy, you specify triggers, events, and risk indicators. You state conditions and actions, and you state users that are or group that this policy will be assigned to. When you state this, then the artificial intelligence will use every condition you have stated to scan through the organization, and when any matching event or matching trigger is found, it will create an alert. And when alert is generated, the alert will analyze the triggers and classify it based on the policy that you have set in your uh, policy, and classify it either high or low or medium. And there will be other details on it. And when you have the details of each alert, you can use it to triage, analyze the severity of the alert, get details of every event. If it's something that has that relates with sharing of file, you get details of files that was shared, when it was shared, which location, and you get every detail. This will help you to analyze and understand the severity of the violation. And this will help you to further investigate and do deep review of the activity of the user and the circumstances around the policy match. You'll be able to analyze the consequence of this on your organization and take necessary action to either resolve the case, or you notify the user if it's a low level alert, and if it's a very high risk alert, you immediately take the next necessary action to mitigate the risk. This is showing us a brief preview of the insider risk management, and on the top left is a policy page where you can create policy. And after you have created a policy, you will see some other details of users that are in scope. You see active alerts that you have on it. You see if you have confirmed any alert and if any action is taken on alert, and you see a policy status. And from here, if there's any issue with that policy you create, you will see policy warnings, policy recommendations, and with this, you can do necessary recommendations to correct whatever that is wrong with the policy. And if the policy is there, you will see it here. And the next one by the left is the alert page. On the alert page, you will see how many alerts you have. You will see the classification of the alert, if it is high or low. And if you want to analyze each alert, that is triage. When you come to the alert detail page, you click on any alert, then a new page will be opened by the left way, by the right. There you can see summary of the alert and you can analyze the user activities. You can see all the details. Now to have a broader view of this triad, so you can have all necessary details. When you click on open expanded view, you will see the page by the right, and you will see the title of policy that these alert match. Here is potential IP theft, and you can analyze everything from the case overview, and you can see the user's activities, details, everything. What did the user do here? Here the user deleted a specific file, and you see details of everything from which location and all that. This will help you to get more details of the event that occurred the user, and you'll be able to use this information to take necessary action. Now let's talk about the license and permission requirement. As a global admin, the role is not sufficient to analyze insider risk. You have to be assigned another role for the security and compliance management. And to navigate to that, you can protection.office.com. So you assign whoever you want to be the insider risk manager or to review the insider risk. You assign these permissions. You can assign insider risk management. This is the highest level of your role. You can create policy, analyze everything, or based on less privilege or rule, you can assign some other privilege just for specific function you want the user to perform. For risk analyst, you can just assign insider risk management analyst and others based on what function you want a particular compliance manager to perform regarding insider risk. And for the license, Office 365 E5, Microsoft 365 E5, either trial or pay, they have the insider risk management included in it. And these are the necessary license that must be assigned to every user that will be assigned or will be added to the insider risk management group. And that is all about insider risk management. Now let's talk briefly about communication compliance. Communication compliance is to ensure that communication in the organization is appropriate and to ensure serenity. So here you can scan every form of communication of users or employees in your organization to monitor their communication and ensure that inappropriate messages are not used in the organization. This can help to prevent against corporate harassment or inside internal trading, fraud, or any form. So here you'll be able to detect any trigger and immediately take action to ensure that everything works well in the organization. And the key features of this communication compliance is that you have templates to help you customize based on specific events. Microsoft have done that to make it easier for you to configure policy, and you have flexible remediation workflow based on the artificial intelligence that Microsoft have put in place, and you can take actions, and predicted actions are there also to make it easy. Now let's talk about the scope of communication compliance. Communication compliance comes through all communication and collaboration services of Microsoft 365 from Exchange Online. It scans through all mails that are saved on Exchange Online, either user mailbox or shared mailbox, and Teams chats and collaboration, including Teams channel, group discussion, and all that, even meeting chats. So communication compliance scans through all to check for any matching triggers. Also, Yammer, Sky for Business, and any other third-party application like Bloomberg. And the license is the same thing with insider risk management, Office 365 E5. Microsoft 365 E5, or if you're using E3, you have to add advanced compliance add-on to it. And the permission, like insider risk management, global admin permission is not sufficient for you to perform communication compliance or auditing. So you have to be assigned extra role communication compliance or communication compliance admin or any other based on the function that you want the user to. Now, the workflow of communication compliance is that you have to configure policy as well, because this policy is where you define different terms that will help you to detect triggers. And when you configure that, then you will investigate the alerts that are created based on any match. Whenever any match is found, alerts will be created, and you can use this alert to investigate the severity of the action, and you can use the report and the alert to remediate. Either you resolve or you can tag a particular alert for other evaluators to see when you are escalating. You can notify the user, or you can escalate even to Microsoft for further investigation. And you have monitor reports, which will help you to do continuous monitoring. So you can export the log or the event that are recorded in the unified auditing. And even from the unified auditing page, you can check individual activities of different users. Now let's talk about information barrier. Like I said, information barrier will help you to enforce compliance by cutting off the communication line between two users or groups to avoid conflict of interest. For instance, in the diagram we have here, the HR, sales segment and research have been having communication now to ensure that there's no conflict of interest between the research team and the sales team, or to avoid any kind of malicious connection between a member of sales team and research team, which may lead to either IP theft or any fraud. You can cut off the communication line and ensure that there can't be any communication between the two groups. So any user that is added to either of the group cannot communicate. This solution is still in the review mode, so you might not see it in the Office 365 compliance page, but presently it's being managed by PowerShell. But I will show you the effect of it when we get to the demo session. Now, what are the scope of information barrier? Information barriers span through the collaboration means Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, and OneDrive. And what are the things that you can do? You can stop, you can restrict chat, you can restrict sharing of files, sharing of screen, placing a call, you can restrict searching a site. Everything here is what you can restrict to ensure that compliance is met between two groups or different users. It may be more than two, as many groups as you have added to either arm of that information barrier. They will not be able to communicate, and this will ensure that there's no conflict of interest when they are working on a particular project or whatever they're working on at the moment. And when is the best time to use information barriers? Basically, if you have a team that must be prevented from communicating or sharing data with a specific team, this may be within your organization or outside your organization. Perhaps you're working with a vendor, you're working with customers, and you don't want a specific team to communicate or search for those guests that you have added to your organization. You can use information barrier to stop this form of communication. Or if you have a team that must not communicate or share data with anyone outside the team. So let's look at the last solution that we'll be talking about today is privileged access management. And privileged access management helps you to provide a kind of one in time access for a particular user. So you provide a kind of granular access control for privileged users or admin. And this can help you to avoid the kind of breaches or violation of security or compliance policy that you have already set in your organization. And how does this work? If a user wants to perform any role, they will have to request access from the admin, and for a specific time. Maybe you want to do this for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, or for a full day. And when the access is given, automatically by the time the assigned time elapsed, that role will be removed from the user. So the user can have access to that role by the time the allotted period expired. So this helps to ensure that privileged users comply with the security configuration of the organization. And the workflow is that you create a privileged access management policy. And when you create that, users that are assigned this policy will have to request for access. And in the privileged access policy dashboard, the admin will see the access request and decide if it is necessary to grant the request by approving it or by rejecting the approval. So if their approval is approved, then the user can access and process whatever function it wants to do. And if the access is rejected, then the user cannot perform that function. So let's quickly go through a demo of everything I've said here. So to access the insider risk management page, you can do that from your Office 365 Admin Center. You come to the compliance management admin. I believe we can all see my screen, please. I want someone to indicate that they can see my screen. Hello, can we hear me?
Yes, sir, we can see your screen.
Yes, I can.
All right. All right. Thank you. So you click on compliance and it will take you to the compliance management page. And don't forget, you have to assign the right license to the user, Microsoft 365 E5 or Office 365 E5. And this is the compliance page. Then we'll go to the information risk management page. From the information risk management page, you will see different tabs to manage the insider risk. From the overview here, you can see a summary of every event that have taken place, users that were assigned the policies and all that. So I will quickly take us through the policies that I have here. Then we will check how to create a policy before we move to the next one. So let's go to alert. Okay, let's start from policy, pardon me. This is where you create a policy. I already have about 2 policies here. And in each policy, I have 3 users in scope. And you see that each of them have generated 1 alert each. And no alert have been confirmed yet. And I've not taken any actions. I think we will do that on this case. So let's quickly review one of the policy. And in creating the policy, you give it a name. When you assign a name to a policy, you cannot edit it later. So when you give it a name, there are templates that you can make use of, show us by the time we review this again. Then I have a name. I have assigned this to users. I assign this to specific users in my organization. You can assign to all users if you wanted to cover all users in the organization. And then I assign if I want to specify the sensitivity label at the SharePoint site, I can decide to do it later, but here I've specified all my SharePoint site because I wanted to cover all the organization, and I specify the sensitive information that I want to cover and the sensitive label. Then here I select different indicators. Different indicators is what will help you artificial intelligence to trace matching events. So we have different indicators here. We have policy indicator to check if there is any download from any SharePoint, or maybe a specific user is sharing SharePoint file, and perhaps you have a user that is resigning, and look at, okay, the little notice period that I have, I can use it to download and get some intellectual property of the organization. So you can trace every download from any SharePoint site or OneDrive site. You can trace if any user is trying to breach the policy by reducing the security of any label, or any user is deleting any SharePoint. So there are many triggers that you can check here. Even if you're using endpoint management, you can get triggers on different devices. Maybe you have configured that no user should be able to use USB devices to copy anything the from the devices in the organization, and someone is in that. So you can configure any form of indicators based on what you want the IRM to cover. And when you do that, you click to next, and you select the score. Like, okay, how you want the alert to be generated. You want from I created it, I reduced it because I want it to easily cover create alert for me, because I have less user in my organization and less activities. But in your organization, you can say, okay, maybe from 5 to 10, 1 to 5, but you can adjust this based on what you want to cover, based on your compliance structure in your organization. And when you are done with this, you go next, and you have the sub, and then you can submit the policy. So it's the same process that you use to create policy. And when that is done, from the policy page, you can investigate. Here I have 2 LD policies. If there is any issue with the policy, you will see it indicated under the policy warnings or policy recommendations. And now, after the policy, I found any matching event, it will create alerts. So let's check the alerts. I have 2 alerts here on my page, one high alert and medium. And from here, you can do different kind of analysis to try it and get more details. So you come to the alert page, alerts details, and you click on any of the alerts. From here, you will see details about the alert. Here is about the policy that was matching. Here is data leak, and we can see 19 exfiltration activities. And then if you scroll down, you will see all the activities. So you can view more details from the activities timeline, or if you still want to get more summary, you scroll down to get more summary. And to get full details about this, we'll open the expanded view, where we'll see the full view of the event. On the summary page, you will see everything. And then from Activity Explorer, you can get details of each of the activity by selecting it, and it will load up the activity, and you can scroll down to check which files, each of them. Here, the record ID, what location, this was on OneDrive, and which operation must link created, and which activity was done, file shared externally from SPO. Because I have created that files should not be shared, or one of the triggers that I want to capture is when this user share any file to external organization. So which file or which location, which site, every details will be here with the IP address, and here you can use it to triage and investigate, analyze that risk, and this will help you to determine what actions to take. So from the alert, when you have reviewed it, you can use it to create a case for further escalation. You can use it to create a case for further escalation. So when you click on any alert, From action here, you can see confirm alert and create a case, or you dismiss alert. But here, let's confirm alert and create a case. So you can give it any name. So data leak, add comments, then you create a case. So when you create the case, you can manage the case from the case management tab. And managing the case, you'll be able to define. It will take about a few time for this, maybe a few seconds for this to play here. And let me quickly say something. Insider risk management, at the beginning, you will not see all the details as I'm seeing it here. You have to enable the insider risk management analytics from the settings. Let me quickly take us there. Sorry. From the insider risk settings, you need to enable the analytics of these details to be collected, and it may take up to 24 hours for the first scan in your organization to take place. So analytics here you see is still in preview, and here I've turned it on. So you have to come here to turn it on, and here you can do all your settings. You can do privacy settings if you want the user to be visible, or you don't want the name to be visible, just to ensure privacy regulation is met as it pertains to your organization. Here you can indicate which policy indicators you want to be active from the indicators when you are creating a policy, and then you can select policy time frame and every other settings. You can come here to customize it based on what you want. So let's go back to cases. We should have the cases there now. Okay, it has not populated it. It will take some time, but let's go to users. Here you can manage different users and see which activities each user has performed. So this will help you to manage insider risk in your organization, and it will help you to ensure that every form of adverse risk is mitigated, and you can take necessary actions from here, or you can check user activity detail to get more details about the user's activity over the time that is covered in this scan. And more so, you can stop scoring activity for that particular user if you think that, okay, the alert is not as high and something that you can permit. So you can stop the risk activity, or you can create a notice template. This notice template will send notification to the user that, okay, you are taking this social action and it's not compliant in the organization. We want you to stop doing that. It's because some users may not be aware of the action they are taking. It may not be voluntary, so you have to notify them. And this is also a way of educating them that, okay, you are being monitored. You need to watch your activity and stay compliant. So that is that about information insider risk management. Now let's check communication compliance. Communication compliance, like I said, will help you to ensure that communication within the organization is serene and focused on what is necessary, and to prevent any form of conflict in the organization. So you can monitor every communication from Exchange Online, Teams, chat and collaboration, or you can monitor on Yama, you can monitor Skype for business and any third party. And the same process, you create a policy. And here, if you check by the right, you see recommended policy. These are like templates to guide you. So you can create policy to monitor offensive languages. You can create policy to monitor sensitive information. You can create policy to monitor financial regulation or conflict of interest. And this will help you to monitor if there is any report of corporate harassment or any violation of the compliance policy in communication. You can trace that and you'll be able to monitor it from here. So from here, you can create a policy. You can either follow any of the template or you create your own custom policy so you can customize based on what you want. But we will just go through taking one of the template and you give it a name. A name I've been given here, but you can change it if you wish. And like I said, when you change the name at this beginning, you may not be able to change it later. So you will select which group you want to supervise or which user. If you want it to be all users in your organization, you leave it at all users. That will be selected by default. Or if you want it to be specific, you select users. So for this demo, we leave it at all users. And then you will select reviewer of that policy. You just select a user within the organization to be the reviewer. And this user must have the compliance or communication compliance or permission, either communication compliance admin or communication compliance or analyst or investigator. And then there are some pre-filled pages. If you are good with this, you can just click on create policy, or if you want to customize your policy away, you can continue with customize policy. And from customized policy, you'll be able to define what policy or what triggers and indicators you want to select. Here, you can select all the locations, or perhaps you just want it to be a specific location for this specific policy. So you can deselect any of them and you move on to the next page to define the conditions and percentage of matches. So there are some here that have been uh, chosen already. You can add to them. These are trainable classifiers, or you can add different conditions. Like, okay, if a contain any of this sensitive information, or if the message contain these specific words, so you can highlight different words that you think that they are a form of harassment or that they are not acceptable in your organization. You can define it. If an attachment is larger than this, you can define everything here and you select and add. So if an attachment contains any of these words, you can just put it in that you want this this policy to monitor. Then for this option, this will scan through text and images that are attached maybe to any file or to emails exchange online and try to find matching words from that attachment. So here you can define the percentage of match. Okay, you want it to be 100%, or if you want to receive more alerts, you can reduce the percentage so you have more suggestion to monitor. Then you click on next to view the summary of the policy and you create the policy. So by this, you have created the policy. And then when you create the policy, then you can go to the policy page to monitor. Okay. Oh, okay. The policy name already exists. Sorry. So let me just go back to the policy page. That is how you create policy. And if your policy find any match, then you can track them from the alert page. You see any match that is here. Here, I don't have any alerts. And from the report, you can view reports of the issue. And then you can also configure the privacy settings from here, because I said earlier that this solution try to strike balance between risk management and privacy. So you may decide that you don't want the name of the user to be displayed just to meet up with the policy regulation, and you can customize your notice here. So with this, let's check one of these policies that have items that have not been resolved. So there are some matching events on this policy. We will review them. What are the events? What are the users that are affected? And we will try to take necessary actions. Just give me a moment. This is moving. So while we're waiting for this to load, let me quickly show you the effect of information barrier. Like I said earlier, this is still in preview mode, so we will not see it in the compliance admin center, but it's being managed by PowerShell. I've configured one in my organization, and I have two groups, and I use some other classifiers. We can use other exchange classifiers like a department, the company name, or any other classifiers. We can define custom classifiers also to define the communication segment of each policy. So in two different groups, and I've created a policy that any user that is in one group or department should not communicate with others. And this policy have taken effect on my tenant. So I have this user. Sorry, let me quickly reshare this.
All right, no problem. We are still with you, sir.
All right, thank you. If you can see my view, I have this user that have the information barrier policy assigned. And this user previously have been communicating with other user, and the information barrier policy have been affected on that user, and immediately that communication link will be cut off, and the user can see administrator has disabled chat for this user. There is other user that this user have been barred from communicating with, and if the user is trying to establish a new communication with that user, there will be no information like admin have disabled chat, but the chat message will not deliver. So it will just be failing. It just be saying fail to send, fail to send. So the importance of this works with Teams, OneDrive, and SharePoint. So, and the importance of this is to ensure, avoid the kind of policy, conflict of interest between users or between group, and to ensure that uh, everything works in compliance with the communication policy that have been set in the organization. So this is the effect of information barrier. So this user now, I cannot add this user to any form of team chat or group chat or anything, because the communication bridge have been cut off, and we cannot create any chat. I cannot call this user. I cannot send any message or send any file through Teams, OneDrive, or SharePoint with this user. And that is the effect of information barrier. So let's go back to the communication compliance, and Finally, I will show us the privileged access management. So yes, like I was saying the other time before we move to the information barrier, this is one of the communication policy that I've created, and the policy have some matching. So we have 4 events that have not been attended to that are still pending. And because in the policy I've created, if anything involve Azure, it should be flagged. And if there are some words that were used, so if we look at this user, the matching word here is that I'm going to get someone soon. And if we look at this, it's somehow threatening, is a kind of corporate harassment, and this can cause a kind of unsettlement between employees. Perhaps they have conflict and it's not known to the management of the organization, which can affect their productivity and affect the organization and can cause some other unrest, or they have disgruntled employees, which can have some communication to stir up a kind of unlawful actions and all that. So the admin can easily monitor and uh, take necessary action to stop that and attend to it. So from here, you can see plain text, you can see the full conversation in Microsoft Teams and get the history of the whole thing, and you can see user history, the recent activity. So this will help you to analyze the event and know the necessary action to take. And when you see any of the alerts, when you indicate them, you can either escalate further to another admin, or you can even escalate to Microsoft for further investigation. If it's a kind of spam that you have seen and you have been receiving it, and you can decide to report this as misclassified if it was misclassified, or you can work to tag this. If you tag this alert, it will help other reviewers to get your view on the alert. Okay, if the event is compliant or questionable or not compliant. So for the next escalation, it will give right understanding of the event to the reviewer, and they may be able to take necessary action. Either it's the HR reviewing it or the compliance or department that are reviewing it. So you'll be able to attach a tag, or you can go ahead to use a kind of template to send this person a notice. So this is the affected user. You will send a notice like a warning to the organization. You can create a new notification from here, or you use the template that you've created earlier. And when you click on this, you'll be able to notify the users that your choice of word is prohibited for official use in this organization. Kindly address strictly to business communication policy. And this user take caution and apply immediately. So this will instill sanity in the organization to ensure that every form of communication is compliant to the policy of the organization. And you can filter, perhaps you have a huge number of it, you can filter based on different incidents, and you can go ahead to say you want to resolve this alert. So you can resolve this alert. When you resolve this, it means that is you have taken necessary action and the alert have been resolved. So you just add a comment, and if you click on resolve, the alert will be resolved, and it will move from here to the resolved page. And from the resolved page, other admin that have template can further access it and review it once again. So this is that about communication compliance. And lastly, we will check the privilege access management. And to open the privilege access management, we go back to the admin center, Office 365 admin center, and we go to settings. And under settings, we go to organization settings. So we go to Security and Privacy tab, and from here we see Privileged Access. When we click on Privileged Access, then you get a page where you can manage the privileged access policy and create or manage requests. So you can disable it here or enable it based on your organization. So to manage or create the policy, you click on this link, create policies and manage requests. So this will take you to the privileged access request page where you can request access or create policy. You click on manage policy, you can add policy, and when you add policy, it's quite simple to do. Basically, the policy type, either task, okay, a user want to perform a specific task, role or role. So you select which type, and the scope is on our Exchange Online. So you select Exchange, you can give it any name. There are different list that you have here, so you can choose what role the user wants to perform. Okay, the user want to perform audit log, and then you give approval type, either manual or auto. So if it's manual, then you have approvers who will be the approver. So the admin, the security admin or compliance admin can approver. Sorry, I would just select a group because you have to create an approval group and add users to it. So let me select this auditors group, and you create the access, the policy. Okay, I think there's issue with the that is the step to follow to create it. I already have like a policy created here. So when you create policy, then you can go back to access request. The users that are in that role group can create access, and or if the user is the security admin, it can manage access. So I have few access requests that are here. There is one that is approved and another one that failed. So let's see how to request access. You just click on request access and select the type of access you're requesting or task. Let's say role, then scope is exchange. Access to perform what? To perform audit log. How many hours do you want to have this access? Okay, by 2 hours, I'll be done. Immediately this time elapsed, then the user will lose the permission. Then it creates the request. So the admin can come at any time. You will see the request here when it's created, and the admin can come to the same page to either accept the request or to deny. So if the request is approved, you will see it approved, and the user will have access to perform whatever it wants to perform. And if the request is denied, the user will not be able to perform any action. So let's try to deny this activity. Okay, I think there's an issue with the server here, but that's the process to follow to either approve or request. So the importance of this solution is to help you manage the insider risk in your organization to prevent against your organization data are well kept and the communication is well managed. And this is very important and will be very helpful for your organization to ensure that your employees are compliant with the security uh, uh, policies of your organization. And this will give the management a huge rest, because to manage insider risk without this solution will be difficult, since data are kept with user in their different location. But this solution will help you with the artificial intelligence to enforce policy and ensure that compliance is made in your organization. So thank you very much. And if there's any question, please, Smart, you can go ahead with that. Thank you.